And one of my students said, you're as old as this profession. I've been in this consultancy business for the last 17 years. And I have done the whole range of regulatory consultancy, from industry, GMP, GDP, pharmaceutical consultancy. I have done vet products, I have done medical devices and pharmacovigilance. So I think I have gone the full hog and still learning. Let me start with consultancy. Consultancy is, what are the expectations when you're going into consultancy? I'll start with key skills. Key skills, one is you must be a leader. Leader because you're going to be running teams. So you must be a good team leader. You must be a good project manager. You're able to manage projects simultaneously. You must be very well organized in terms of time management, putting systems in place. You must be very flexible because you have a number of clients who need different solutions, and sometimes a client will come and you have an appointment and they disappoint you, they move to appointment to another time and you have another client. So you have to be very flexible in the things in the jobs that you're doing. You have to be very agile in what you present. Sometimes you present some solutions to a client and they are not happy about it and they want an alternative very fast. So you have to figure out how to do that. You must be able to identify gaps in the fields, in terms of what does this client want. In order to identify these gaps, you must have worked in this field for some time. So I tell the people I train, for you to be a consultant, you must have worked in this industry at least, in my opinion, 5 years plus. 5 years gives you an idea of the basics, foundation of regulatory affairs. You have managed teams where you are. You've been able to put down systems where you are. You've been able to create change where you are. And you have been able to deal with different scenarios in different countries for you to be an authority on the solutions you're presenting to somebody else. So usually I say, give it 5 years to be a proper consultant. Okay, starting out, you can start out with 3 years, but I always say, to be a proper consultant, give it 5 years plus to having worked in the industry, to be able to now get to the level where you say, I think I'm good enough. I have enough knowledge or expertise to be able even to advise somebody else. 2, consultancy needs a lot of fortitude. There are many times you will fall down. There are many times you will make huge mistakes. Remember, when you're going at it alone, depends how you do it. There are people who want to venture out as part-time consultants as they are working, and there are some who want to go full consultancy. At the end of the day, to do consultancy in a proper way, 1, you must identify your area of expertise. 2, get the right certifications for that. If you get into regulatory, you do your regulatory, you have your experience. Then you want to venture into what? Medical devices, go and get certification in medical devices. Train more in that area, so that you're able to hone your skills in that specific area. Don't be too general, hone your skills in the different areas, 3, look for mentors in that area. When you have a mentor, you want to get somewhere, look for someone who's been there, who's been in that path and is able to help you navigate. You don't want to make the same mistakes they did when they were getting into it. So get a mentor in that area so that you're able to navigate and able to know what the requirements are. Then, I would also, usually people start out as consultants and they come and I tell them, do you have any idea what this thing involves? 1, you have to set up an office. For anyone to engage you as a consultant, especially the big businesses, big pharma, they want a serious person. They need somebody with an office, a location. They need you to have all your mandatory systems in place. That means KRA, very important to have your KRA systems in place. You're paying if you have somebody who's working for you, you're doing your deductions, your NHIF, NSSF, that means you're in full compliance all around. You have the required licenses from the county, licenses from your health authority, and just get all the mandatory documentation in place. Another thing which you may need to put in place, must put in place, is a quality management system. Why? Because it depends what you're targeting. If you're out small and to do small-time jobs, you can play around. But to be a serious consultant, you must have good system in place. Quality management system. Why? Because you're going to be audited. You'll be audited, especially if you have serious people coming in and they're looking at you as a consultant. Are your SOPs in place? Are you even able to do, your own self-audits? The same way we do in our setups, in our distribution setups. Remember, even in regulatory, you must have your systems in place. SOPs for every single thing you do. You must be able to audit yourselves. You must be able to, and they don't only audit you in terms of your regulatory processes, they also audit you in terms of your compliance. Are you compliant with, your governance compliance? They will come and ask you about your business continuity. In terms of, if you're not there today, does that business go on? So these are some of the things you think about even as you're setting up. Then 3, you need to build your networks. A good consultant is someone who has very good networks. Networks with other regulatory affairs professionals, networks with the regulators. Why? Because most of your business and your referrals will come from your colleagues, will come from the clients you've done for work before, and will come from the regulator. If the regulator trusts what you do, they will send clients your way, because it's not the work of the regulator to show the client what they need to do. So you must have good knowledge, and for the regulator to trust you're doing a good job, you must have integrity. So there are key values you must have even when you're going to this business. You must be trustworthy, and you must be somebody of high integrity. Qualifications, experience, in Kenya, you must be a pharmacist. 1, because you need to get your certification as a consultant from PPB, so you have to apply to be recognized as a consultant at PPB, and the requirement is where you must be a pharmacist. Like I said, at least 5 years experience in the business. 2, you must have a network. Network, why? Because you need to have your regulatory intelligence, your capacity for regulatory intelligence must be very good. So your networks must be very good. There is always a change of regulation going on every day. It's very dynamic. You must have your ear to the ground. What is going on? What's going on in Kenya? What are the latest regulations? How is it impacting my business? How is it going to impact my clients? Yeah? You must be able to have a good network even with people in other industries and in other sectors, not only in pharma, but even in other sectors. What is going on? Because when you're in consultancy, you'll have a diverse range of clients who come and ask you for services. You'll have someone who's coming to ask you, how do I set up a factory? Someone else will come and ask you, how do I register a biologic? Another one, how do I register a radiopharmaceutical? Another will come and ask you, how do I register a medical device? You can't tell them, I do not know. You build capacity internally to be able to cater for these clients. You must be able to observe what the market trends are, the changes, because they also expect you to know what are the market changes, what are the things that are being registered. You're in regulatory, you register many products, you have an idea what is going on in the market, which products are moving, which products are harder to register, what are the barriers to product registration for the different types of products. Then, most important, you build your brand. Remember, at the end of the day, consultants are many, but you must be able to set yourself apart from other people. How do you do it? Be very accurate in the information you give your clients. Have the know-how, study. You know, me, I had to go back and actually get a master's in regulatory affairs for me to understand, you know, before you are doing it very, let me call it kienyeji, pick dossiers, we used to call it clearing and forwarding. You send for dossiers, do a few changes, take to the board, submit, oh, I've finished. That's regulatory affairs, that's not regulatory affairs. Regulatory affairs is understanding what each and every document means when you're submitting, from module 1 to module 2, what does it entail, to module 3, each section, API section, each of it, what does it entail, what does it say? So that at the end of the day, you're providing proper solutions even to your clients. Now coming just to the gaps. Gaps I have noticed in regulatory affairs. One is in the training. Training, we have a problem because we don't have many formal trainings in regulatory affairs. You will find most of the time it is, you go and you're mentored by somebody. There are trainings being offered, I think even by APN, which are trainings, but they're not extensive trainings in regulatory affairs. So there's a huge gap in getting the proper skill set for pharmacists to be able to practice properly in regulatory affairs space. Another key gap is, remember, regulatory affairs now is so diverse. You have people who want to specialize in medical devices, which is not the same as what is in the pharma space. And even in the pharma space, you have people who are in clinical trials, you have people who are dealing with vaccines, others in biologics, others in cosmetics, so it's so diverse, herbal medicine. So we have so many specializations, but we still have this general thing called regulatory affairs. So we need to have what you call specialization in training. Most of now, how we can do it in Kenya is you look for a mentor in that space. You look for training in that space so that you're able even to go under somebody and be able to hone your skills in that area. Remember, it's like I said, it's diverse. We have in pharma. Pharma now has so many spaces of regulatory affairs. There's pharmacovigilance. There is, there's QA. There's now the regulatory pharmacist in terms of documentation. There's also QA in terms of you're the one who's building up the QMS system in your company. There is now the person who it's called what I think even there's the medical devices, there's in cosmetics, there's in nutraceuticals. There's so many. It is so diverse. So there are many areas you can branch into. Get training in that, hone your skills, and at the end of the day, experience. Experience is the best teacher. When you get into a company and you hone your skills in whatever you do. Another key area is exposure. Exposure, what I've done, when I was working in distribution, you find you're doing the same thing all the time. Same documentation, do a few changes, prepare documents, submit. Then the next thing is variations. The next thing is, it becomes so cyclic, you get tired of that routine. Yeah? So at the end of the day, I always tell people, remember, we are training you to be leaders. We are not training you to be people who are paper pushers. So we move away from being paper pushers to asking ourselves, what more can we do in that space so that we have more impact as regulatory affairs professionals? Yeah? Your company needs you to have an understanding what is going on. What is going on in Kenya? What are the changes? I like when they brought up the aspect of the harmonization. Yeah? You know, when you come and you're doing the same thing, you're saying, oh, all registrations must go through PPB. There are other options which you can be able to submit. Offer these options to your company and tell them, look, we don't have to go through PPB. We can also do it through EGAT. We can also do it through ESC, MRH, and even soon enough we'll be doing it through AMA. You understand? Offer solutions that are able to push your things more than I call it paper pushing. Go a step further, because anybody can do that paper pushing. Believe me, you can train anyone to do that work, and with routine, they are able to do it. Go over and beyond. When you're, and you know, you don't have to wait until you're a consultant, even at your own place of work. You're a consultant, you're giving your clients solutions to the problems they have. They come and ask you, at the end of the day, my labeling is wrong. Go through that labeling, go through the pill, go through the product information. What does it say? Does it align with what the requirements are? Yeah? How do you correct it? Be someone who has attention to detail in terms of what you're submitting. Yeah? Let it make sense to you what you're submitting. Don't do it for the sake of it's out of the way, I've submitted a dossier. Yeah? So go that extra mile in terms of getting information. And you know, a lot of the learning you do is with the queries you get. Yeah? Leverage on the queries you're also getting from the board. It makes you learn a lot on the key areas you need to concentrate on, even as you're preparing your documentation. Another key thing I have noticed when people are doing documentation work is have what you call, you know, we practice, there are things that tie in together in terms of good documentation practice and what we practice as good regulatory practice. Understand the systems of regulatory from the beginning to the end. Before you get that dossier, what information, what advice are you giving to the company on the documentation that's required? When the documentation comes, go through it, see what the missing gaps are, advise them so they give you the proper information. Number 3, do your regulatory intelligence. What are the changes going on with our regulations? And you also advise them on the timelines. Many of the people I work with don't go through guidelines. They have no idea the timelines. If I asked you today, what are the timelines for variations in Uganda? Someone can tell me variations, timelines in Uganda. Who has looked at their delivery timelines in Uganda? In Tanzania, who has looked at that? We don't look at these things, and yet we are saying we are regulatory affairs. Remember, we are not doing a national thing. We are doing a regional. These people who are employing guys who are going to be able to submit regionally. Yeah. Learn to study guidelines. That's our key strength. Study guidelines, and don't study guidelines only for Kenya, study guidelines across board. Remember, we are geared towards harmonization. Harmonization means our guidelines are supposed to be almost the same, but be very keen on the timelines for the different countries in terms of look at the requirements, look at the timelines, look at the payments, you know, do it. Do a summary and share the regulatory intelligence, okay? Another key thing I need to emphasize on, it is good we have trade associations, but we need to be part of professional associations. These are places where you meet and you're able to share regulatory intelligence, you're able to share experiences in the field. You come and say, no, are we doing best practice? Is another company doing it better? I liked when Eva here mentioned about e-labeling. The company I was working for before, we were trying to do a project on e-labeling, and we were trying to understand how do we do this e-labeling, how do we leverage on it? Yeah, because we were getting conflicting regulations. You've come and find that Rwanda now is asking you to put pill on all your boxes, and some of the packaging only had the package inserts. I hope you know the difference between a package insert and a pill. I'm hoping everyone here knows the difference between a package insert or prescriber's insert and a pill. Okay, let me just define that just in case. A pill is geared towards the patient. The PI is geared towards the prescriber. Okay? Now, the authorities are moving to the level where they require you to put the patient information leaflet in the box, but you still need space for the prescriber's insert because they need it, yeah? And here is where you can leverage on the e-labeling. This is where now technology comes in. You understand? How do you align it to the different authorities' needs? Because another authority will ask you, no, we don't need the pill, we need the PI. So these are some of the things you need to look at as a regulator and see what is happening around the region and how can we harmonize so that at the end of the day, I am able to give my client the best possible solution to what they are facing, and I'm able to meet the regulators' requirements. Okay, so that's just a case in point in terms of how you can leverage on regulatory information sharing. How you do that? We have networks like APN, which is good, but at the end of the day, we also need to be part of, we have a regulatory affairs pharmacist association society. Yeah, it's not very vibrant, but it's something we are going to revamp. While we have many young pharmacists, we need to put, we need first to mentor, and we need also to put them in the area and space where they can get employment. True. I love what what APN is doing. They are putting you at the front line so that us who are in employment spaces, or us who are in places where we are able to get information on who requires a regulatory pharmacist, I'm able to connect. I'm able to say, okay, I met Teresa. I met, this is a person I would recommend. You understand? Being part of that network. Yeah? And being part of that network also means you're building your skills. Your skills because you're being mentored in that space. Yeah? You're being challenged to even think beyond Kenya. Beyond East Africa. You're now thinking big. I liked the way John Paul was talking about armor. Now we are thinking even bigger. We are thinking about Africa. Yeah? So you need people who push your thinking to that level of, let us stop being closed-minded in Kenya regulation. Yes, submissions. No. How are we doing? What is happening around Africa? What's happening around our region? Yeah? And be able to leverage on information sharing. That has been a huge gap, and it's an opportunity, especially for the young ones. Yeah? Another key thing is, for us older ones, we have failed to, it's called reverse mentoring. We failed to find a forum to engage the younger ones and learn from them. You guys are technologically, you're at another level. We need to learn from you. We do things old school. Yeah? So, and that's a key challenge I also have with myself. I keep seeing all these podcasts and I'm like, wow, it's amazing what APN is doing. Yeah? And this is something we can leverage on to take us even to the next level. Okay? So, I will, trends have already been mentioned in terms of harmonization of regulations, mutual recognition, and that one I'll not talk much about. And the opportunities are, at the end of the day, get into associations. There's the RAPS, which I've talked about, Regulatory Affairs Association. There's the MEDAC, which caters for the people in medical devices, dealing with medical devices. Get into those associations, get information, get to be part of it. That is how you grow. And that is how you also are able to leverage on opportunities for, to even do internships, to even do, to even get into jobs. And at the end of the day, even as you grow in that industry, you're even able to consider consultancy. Okay? So consultancy is good, but you must start somewhere. Yeah? And at the end of the day, consultancy is based on your experience, on how you're able to leverage what you know. Yeah? And leverage it not only on a national level, but on a regional level. That is how you become a consultant. You know your stuff, you're certified, you're recognized, and your networks are good. Okay, so that is how you get to that level where you say, now I'm able to be a consultant. Authoritatively, you can speak on something and people are able to listen. Yeah? Now, one key thing which I don't want to forget, remember the problem with our Kenyan situation, sometimes we segment ourselves into different sectors. We have multinationals, we have generic companies. As a consultant, you work with all of them. Yeah, you work with all of them. Because your client might be multinational, generic, might be local manufacturing, so you must learn to be able to fit, to have solutions for each of these people. Yeah? Be versatile, be flexible, be agile enough to understand the needs of all these people. Yeah? So have your networks, have people in CAPI who you learn from, have people in RAPS who you learn from, have people in any other organization where you think you can leverage on information. Remember, for us, it is information that's what keeps us in our jobs. It's the information we have. That is our power. Yeah? I wanted to talk more. How many minutes do I have? I have 2 minutes. I want to talk about costing. There is one thing we really, and that is something very passionate for me. We've not been able to reach a point where we set standards for regulatory affairs pharmacists. in terms of even payment, how we get remunerated, yeah? And that is a key thing. I hope we can even leverage with APN and RAPS. We come and set standards for regulatory affairs pharmacists, yeah? Just like the lawyers do. You go to them and you know, if I'm engaging this person, this is the rate that I should be engaging this person. Why? Because we get underrated. Most of the time, we are negotiating on basis of, you're able to do your regulatory affairs, this one is regulatory affairs, how much will you take? 50,000? 20,000? You know, it becomes a place where now you're not able to operate. You're a professional. So you need to give yourself value in terms of being a professional, and we need to come up with some of those rates so that we are able to build people. I know the young ones, even when they are coming up, they are able to take up their positions as regulatory affairs, pharmacists, and you're also remunerated as such. Okay, so that's a passion for me, and I hope we can work with APN on that as RAPS. I'm the organizing secretary in RAPS, and I am hoping we can partner together to have that agenda in place.
One more round of applause. I'll check one question. Are there any questions? Going once, twice.
How to join RAPS?
How to join that?
How to join RAPS? Okay, initially we had a membership fee of 5,000, but looking at our constitution for the younger members, we are seeing how we are trying to see how to review it so that we lower the entry barrier for the younger members. We shall communicate. So what within the course of next week, these are some of the things we are looking at so that we can be able to lower the cost and be able to have more members come on board. This also, just to add to what I was telling you, this is something even the board was really supporting us on in terms of having regulatory affairs pharmacists who are registered with the RAPS, you know, also recognized by PPP. So it's something that will be very good even in the long term. Yeah. So that's something we are looking at, and we shall communicate through David in terms of even the membership fees. Yeah.
Hello. Mine is not a question. It's more of a suggestion. Are you looking for mentees?
Well, I love to mentor. The problem is I don't have space right now. I have 3. Usually I do internships. I always have space for 1, but now currently I have 3, so I'm not able to do that currently. But I always tell guys, send me your CV. You never know when that space opens up. Yeah? So you're always welcome to send me your CVs. Let's see how we can work together. So, and I have a good group. Where is Eva? I have people here who are absolutely fantastic mentors. There's Eva Amoy, there is Nelson Odhiambo. Where is Nelson Odhiambo? That's one of our pioneers in QA and regulatory affairs. Please stand up. Let people see you. These are people who are very important in the industry. We need to know them. And those are the people I'll be leveraging on to get mentors. So, you know, to mentor people. Thank you. Yes. So we have a huge group of guys, and in fact that is something I will also put forward in our group. If you're interested as to be mentored, please forward me your names. I will also put it to the group because we have a fantastic network. And the good thing in this industry, once you know you're in that group, we know everybody else. Even when you come for your interviews, we know. We know you already. We know who is who and who was working where. Yeah. So it's a very good group to be part of, and even to get mentors. Yeah. So this is a program we are hoping to push and work very closely with David. He does great things for young pharmacists. I really admire him. Yeah. So it's something we can work very closely together to be able to marry the two. Okay.